Which one of these words do you think?
See.
I'm watching.
I look for newspaper.
I see.
Look for.
I read. I am watching.
I read the newspaper.
Yes. So, the point I wanted to tell you guys is the newspaper is something you read. It's not something you look at. It's not something you watch. It's not something you see. So none of these would be the right word for this. The correct word for this would be I read the newspaper. The difference in a newspaper versus like a movie is that a movie doesn't involve reading anything. It just involves looking or watching. A newspaper, you can't just look at or watch. You are actively reading something in the newspaper. So it's not enough to say, for anything that involves more than just watching. If it involves you having to read something, then that you can't use look, watch, or see. You would have to say, I read or I read the newspaper. Does that make sense? Does that make more sense as far as?
Sentence.
Okay. Okay. So let's cover the last. Let's cover C.
I think girlfriend.
Okay. So see is a verb. It's something you do. See means to have sight. So can somebody give me an example of when you would use the word see in a sentence?
I saw the bird fly on the sky.
Yes, exactly. Very good. So let's use see. So I see the bird fly in the sky. So this means you have sight to see the bird fly in the sky. Say, what if it was nighttime? So say it was dark outside.
Yes. I see the star shine in the sky.
Yes. Very good. I see the stars shine in the sky. Okay. So the difference between these two is, say this is morning, yes, and this is night. In the morning, the sun is out, you can see birds flying in the sky. So because the sun is out in the morning, you have the sight to see the birds flying in the sky.
I saw full moon last night.
Yes, so you saw with your sight, with your eyes, the full moon last night. When it's nighttime, the sun isn't out. You don't have the sight to see the bird because it's night. But because it's night, you have the sight to see the stars in the sky.
Teacher, another two words. Glance and stare. Glance and stare.
That's it?
Glance and stare.
Oh yes, yeah, glance and stare.
Yeah.
You want to know the difference between those two?
Yeah. Two words. Glance. And
Glance.
stare.
So,
G-L-G-R-E-C.
glance
Yeah.
and
And
stare.
stare. S-T-A-R.
So you want to know the difference between these two words. Okay, and I'll explain those at some point. What I want to do, and this is what I'll do at each class, is any words you guys don't understand, or you have two words that may mean similar things, but you want to know when to use this word versus when to use that word, I will make a list of all those words, and at some point during the class we will discuss those. So, I see the stars. Let's get back to the I see. So these are two examples of you see. Now, why would you not use the word watch?
It's a little time that we use, so we don't use watch.
Yes. So you would not say see. Okay. So unless you were spending 2 hours or so watching the birds in the sky, you would not say I watch the bird fly in the sky. You would say I see the bird fly in the sky. Same thing with the stars. Unless you were looking at the stars for a long period of time, you would not say, I watch the stars shine in the sky. You see it because you have the sight to see, but I see the stars in the sky. Any questions on that? So what I want to do first is we're covering these first 3 words. I'm going to write 6 sentences, and I'm going to have a blank. And don't shout out any answers yet, because I want to finish writing all 6 sentences. So please hold. Actually, let's just do one sentence by sentence. So, I blank at the squirrel on the ground. I
Look at. See. Look at. See.
I look at.
I look at.
I see.
I look. Because I have that.
raise your hand if you think it's look. Raise your hand if you think it's watch.
ใครเลือกอะไรยกมือขึ้นนะฟังคุณ
Raise your hand if you think it's see. Okay, so the squirrel. SQ. Yeah.
โอเคเอาซะนะ
It's this dude.
I see at the school of ground. Close the tap
Oh, okay.
because it will die.
Let's try.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the key word here. I blinked at the squirrel.
Look.
Yeah.
Look. Look at.
I looked at the squirrel.
Why don't you use see?
Well, I'll show you. So I looked So I looked briefly. There's a squirrel on the ground. I looked at the squirrel on the ground. It's very, very similar. So, but what I want to show is what would be the proper grammar, what would be the proper way of saying the sentence if you were to use the word see. So, what's the past tense of see?
Saw.
Saw. So, if I was to say, so if I say I blanked, or I blank the squirrel on the ground.
See.
Yes. Yes. What is, so I saw, see or saw, the squirrel on the ground. What's the difference between these two sentences?
At and on.
preposition
Yes.
At and on.
So, like you said, I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name is Javed.
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 Javed, okay. The difference between these two is at.
Second sentence have a on. I saw the square on the ground.
Yes. Yes. So, the point for this sentence is that depending on how the sentence is structured, look may be appropriate or see may be appropriate. But both see and look are something that you do for a short period of time. You don't watch the squirrel for a long period of time. I don't know if, do you guys have squirrels around here?
Stop squirrel.
Okay.
Stop squirrel. And watch.
Okay.
Stop squirrel.
So let's do another sentence just so this helps you guys. Let's see. Okay. So I blank a parade in the morning.
I see.
So yeah, let's
I
I'm
watch.
sorry. Let's say
I
this is past tense. Say this is
I watch.
I watched.
yes.
I watch.
Watch.
Yeah. So it is I watched. So why would it be I watched?
Because I watch a parade in the morning.
But why would it be watched versus look or see?
Because the parents use a long time.
So yeah.
Look up, maybe 2 hours and 3 hours.
Yeah, so I wrote this sentence intentionally because I wrote in the morning because in the morning suggests that you watched the parade for at least the whole morning, which means at least a couple hours. So that's it's something you did for a long period of time. So you didn't just look at the parade, you didn't just see the parade, you watched the parade for a long period of time in the morning. One more. So I blank the sunrise this morning. Okay, let's assume this is past tense. This is something you've already done.
I saw.
Yes.
So,
I saw
so,
the sunrise this morning. Yes. Was your question?
no
Okay.
มีคำถามเลยยกมืออ่ะ
no, no.
So I saw the sunrise this morning. It's something. Remember the definition of saw or see is to have sight. You have the sight to see that the sun rose this morning. You didn't look at the sunrise for a long period of time, so it's not something you watched. The way I wrote the sentence is you can't say I looked the sunrise this morning. That doesn't make sense. The way the sentence is written, I saw, past tense, the sunrise this morning.
Sunlight this morning. I saw the sundown this evening. No.
no
So
No.
this.
อาชีพตกแต่ว่าอะไร
So okay, that's a good question. That's a good question. So you say the sun.
อนาคตเด็ก
So this evening has that happened yet?
No.
No,
Yesterday.
future time.
Yesterday I saw the sun down.
sundown evening
In the evening.
ใช่
Yes.
แต่ว่า
So
Yes.
if you start with yesterday,
Yes.
then yeah, that's past tense. But if you say
อ๋อ
this evening, I will see,
Yes.
I will
because this evening hasn't happened yet. It's future tense. So that's the difference between those two. But let's talk about those two words. Glance and stare. Who brought that up? Glance and stare.
To look at very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yes. So glance. To look at very quickly. Versus stare, which is
There. Like a look at. It's a proper thing there, look at.
now stare. Okay,
Stare.
if glance means to look at very quickly,
Uh-huh.
stare means the complete opposite.
Long time.
Stare means to look at
A long time.
a long time. So, say you see something that looks very nice, something you like a lot. Trying to give a good example.
You're looking very smart.
Hmm?
You're looking very smart.
I don't think so
I'm trying to think of a good example here. So, yeah, okay. Let's use. Say it's nighttime, and there's just tons of stars in the sky, and it looks beautiful. It's something you want to look at for a very long time. If you want to look at it for a very long time, are you going to glance at the stars, or are you going to stare at the stars?
I stare the sun at night.
At night, yeah. So the stars. You don't want to stare at the sun a long time.
The night sun at Europe, Norway, Sweden, Belgium, is have a sun night.
Okay. So, yeah.
I look full moon a long time.
Okay, yes. So, okay, yes, I think that's a good example. Good example. So, let's say a full moon. That's something that looks really cool, looks really neat. So a full moon is not going to be something you just glance at or something you look at very quickly. A full moon is going to be something you look at a long time. Or a full moon, so let's use stare. So past tense. I stared at the full moon last night. So again, past tense. Now let's use an example, past tense of glance. So I'm teaching this class, and I know you guys have to be finished with this class by 11 a.m. And so say there is a clock up here, and I want to make sure that I finish the class by 11. So when I'm teaching, I will quickly glance at the clock to see what time it is, just to make sure that I'm not keeping you guys here past 11 o'clock. I'm not going to stare at the clock for a long period of time because I have a class to teach. I'm going to glance at the clock very quickly because I have a class to teach. So to use glance, past tense in a sentence, is I glanced at the clock to see what time it was. So I glanced, meaning I looked very quickly. I just looked and I went back to teaching at the clock to see what time it was.
Glance to see. Use the two words, glance and see.
Yeah, so that's the difference. It's a very simple difference in that glance is something you do very quick. Stare is something you do for a longer time.
Teacher, there's 5 words, only the word for see or looking. There is only 5 words for looking or see. Only 5 words.
Versus
5 words of looking at anything. Look.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Only 5 words. Yeah.
only 5?
Yeah, only 5 words. Used to see or look at something. It's 5 words.
Have another word. She means have another word for look. The meaning of look, watch and see. Have another word. She want to know.
No, I mean we use 5 words for looking or see or watch.
Are you just saying that there's multiple
I
words you
mean
can
5
use
words.
for
5
looking?
words.
Yeah.
Yes.
5 words.
Each one of those words has their appropriate place. Not all of the words for a looking action are appropriate all the time. So what I want to do is involve all of you. So I want to ask for, I know this is the part you guys hate, but I want to ask for volunteers. I want to ask for volunteers. So I want a volunteer to come up here and write a sentence that involves the word look. Will somebody be comfortable enough to come up here or even if you don't want to come up here, at least from your desk, say to me a sentence that you would use the word look.
I should write on the whiteboard.
If you want to, yes.
If you want to.
Thank you.
am. We
we
are.
are
กำลังดู
ไม่เขียนตัวใหญ่มันอยู่ตัวใหญ่แต่ไม่อยู่ตัวใหญ่มีอะ
No, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so we are looking at my new teacher, which is me.
yes
So,
I for the period
oh yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
I forgot
So we are looking at my new teacher.
our not mine our new teacher our
Oh, okay. So, this is very good because this is very good because this is what I want to work with. And I'm going to show you guys different ways that you could structure this sentence. So, so remember, what is the difference between look and watch?
it's a period of time
Yeah. So, are you guys looking at me, or are you guys watching me?
watching
Because you're doing it for a good couple hours.
watching is impolite watching I think it's just
Okay. That's a good point. That's a good point. Now, at least from my experience, as far as when you would use, I'm trying to think. You could use look. I think that would. I've heard people use we're looking at the new teacher, but again, looking implies that you are doing it for a short period of time. And I guess I do understand though that it may sound impolite to say I am watching the teacher. Now what you could say is I am watching the teacher, I am watching him teach, I am observing him. But more often than not, you would probably use watch only in that it's something you would do for a longer period of time than look. Partly because you want to consider how long you guys are in this class for. You are either watching me teach for 2 hours. So potentially you might use, we are watching my new teacher teach today. So potentially you might use watch. Did you have a question? No questions? No. But that's very good, because this is, whether it's look, watch, see, this is the proper way you would use that. And like you did, at first you left out are, but you correctly added are, because what is this? Present continuous. Yes. Meaning you need to have looking,